Hi, welcome to this tutorial, Sources for Federal Indian Policy, Part 1, Overview and General Sources. My name is Melissa, and I'm going to show you a few things that will help you get started with your research. When you're starting with legal research, there are a couple things to remember. First of all, legal sources do not use the same words we do to refer to people or things. A tool such as a legal encyclopedia can help you figure out which terms to use when searching in some of these sources. Secondly, many laws have popular names that we use in everyday conversation, but these names typically are not used in legal sources. A tool such as a popular name table can help you translate the popular name of a law into the citations that are used in the legal sources. And of course, legal research can be complex. It can be very helpful to find a narrative that will explain a point of law rather than to rely solely on the primary sources. One such tool is called a treatise. A legal treatise lays out all of the law in a particular area in a narrative format, but it also cites all the important cases and parts of the U.S. Code that have gone into making that law. We have a really great one on Indian law that I'm going to show you. First, let's take a look at our legal encyclopedia. I'm on the home page of the Legal Information Institute at Cornell University. The Legal Information Institute's goal is to help those of us who aren't lawyers understand the law, and they have a great legal encyclopedia. You can search the legal encyclopedia for terms that you're planning to use in your research. For example, I'm going to search for Native American. When I do that, I get the entries in the encyclopedia that relate to Native Americans. For example, there's the Department of Interior, which is the federal agency that administers many programs relating to Native Americans. But what I'm interested in right now is American Indian law. You'll see that in U.S. law uses the term Indians instead of Native Americans to refer to indigenous peoples of the continent. Also, even though it's controversial, legal research uses the term tribe for what we might refer to nation or people. This is just something you have to accept in legal research. The society around us, the words that we use in our everyday conversation, advances a lot faster than the terms used in the law. I would suggest that you use this legal encyclopedia or similar legal encyclopedia to look up other terms that you're planning to use in your research. It will help you figure out whether you need to use the words you are planning on using or some other word to really get at what you want. Secondly, I talked about a popular name tool for finding out the citations that refer to laws. The Legal Information Institute has one of these too. It is right here, the table of popular names. So you can use that one. I'm also going to show you one at the United States Code Office of the Law Revision Council. This is the office that actually is in charge of updating the United States Code. And here is their popular name tool. If we go to I and just scroll through a little bit, you can see we're getting to the various laws, the acts that deal with Indians or Native Americans. And here's the popular name of the law, right? The Indian Gaming Regulatory Act is what I would use in my conversation. But then here are a number of citations to that law. What do citations mean? Let's look at an example. This is the Indian Healthcare Improvement Act and the 3 references that are associated with that in the popular name table. The first one is a reference to the public law itself. This was the 437th law passed by the 94th Congress. Once laws are passed, they are published in print in the United States Statutes at Large. This is the second reference. This law was published in the 90th volume of the Statutes at Large, page 1400. The Statutes at Large contains laws in the order that they were passed. So there's no subject access to this work at all, which can make it hard to use because you want frequently to find all the laws in a certain area when you're doing your research. So after the law gets published there, it may change part of the U.S. Code, and that is the third reference. That number means that it is in Title 25 of the U.S. Code, Section 1601. This part of the U.S. Code was changed by this particular law. The U.S. Code contains all the laws of the United States that are currently being used, and they are in order by subject. Title 25 is the main section of the code that deals with Indian law. So if I go to Title 25, then I find all of the laws relating to Native Americans in one section. Once you know the citations of these laws, you can look them up in various legal resources, and with something that we'll do in the next tutorial. Finally, we're going to take a look at the treatise that I was mentioning. This treatise is located in one of our primary legal resources called LexisNexis. The quickest way to get to LexisNexis is from the library homepage here, www.american.edu/library, and going under Search Databases, and then typing in the title. It's one word, so do LexisNexis, just like that. There it is, and let's go in. LexisNexis has a great treatise on Indian law, but it's really kind of hidden, and I'm going to show you how to get to it. First, you go up to the top, you're going to click on Browse. Next, under All Countries, you're going to change that to United States. And the topics, underneath it, you're going to go down a ways until you find Indigenous law. Remember how I said that these legal sources don't use the same words we would? Well, LexisNexis, instead of using Native Americans or American Indians, uses Indigenous law. So click on that. This section has some other interesting things that you probably want to explore at some point. But right now we're going to go under Treatises and Analytical Material, and then find our Cohen's Handbook of Federal Indian Law and click on Browse. This would be a great resource for getting into the study of Indian law. You see we have a lot of historical background there in Chapter 1, and then relations of tribes and states and federal. Okay, all good. And then we're starting to get into different areas of Indian law here. And this is going to be really useful for you. Here, if I go into this and expand it, for example, each section is going to have sort of a historical part here, and then it's going to have different sections of that particular area, and every one that you go in is a narrative. Okay, so it's going to give you some context and meaning to the law. And then also, what is really nice, see all these notes? Each one of these notes refers to, each one of these cites primary documents that are going to be really useful. So for example, I'm getting citations to court cases. Okay, I'm getting citations to the U.S. Code. All right, and each of these I can actually click on, and if they're in LexisNexis, then I actually can go right to that case or that law and take a look. So this is going to be a very useful overview, a good place to start with your various topics. This is the end of the first part of this tutorial. In the next part, we're going to actually do some more detailed searching in LexisNexis and other sources for court cases and laws. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you in the second part.